Hi folks, how's it going? I thought I'd bring you a build guide, one of the first build guides I've ever actually done, on what I've been currently running as a quote-unquote healer Warlock. The simple idea behind this is keeping your teammates alive and also keeping yourself alive as well at the same time. So you kind of do benefit from your teammates getting injured, but it's not necessary all the time. But it is a good quick fix. So the whole build itself actually doesn't really run off a prime exotic for your armor. Now I know there are a lot of exotics that are going to be beneficial for this, but it kind of really runs off of a Prismatic Warlock subclass and also a No Hesitation, which I have crafted. If you get one of these in a drop, I know it's possible. One of our members of our fire team actually got this as a drop as it's built, but with the crafted version, you'll obviously get those elevated perks. So the No Hesitation has a support frame, which is flexible and agile frame, capable of healing allies and hurting foes. So if you hip fire this weapon at your allies, it will heal them. There is like a bar on the reticle that fills up, and that is your healing meter. You'll see it when you play it, and aiming that at your teammates will heal them. And while the weapon is charged and you're rapidly healing, it increases the weapon damage and also bestows restoration to your allies. So you heal them as well as also giving them a small window of restoring their own light as well. So you don't have to constantly heal them. You can heal them a little bit, wait for that to proc, and then carry on dealing extra damage because of its intrinsic trait. The build that we've got going on it, we've got a full bore. The reason I've mainly put a lot of things into range for this weapon. Its recoil direction is use its counterbalance stock. If I don't have this on, it's 85, but with it puts it at 100. So it's very, very nice. Its reload speed is fairly high, its aim assistance is high, its handling is high, its range was its main perk that I wanted to get, because the higher the range, the further away my allies can be, or my teammates can be, and I can still heal them. Works wonders. We have Accurize rounds, increases the range. Now, we have Physic as an enhanced trait. Rapidly healing your allies grants you and your allies restoration for an improved duration. So what this actually does is it procs 2 restoration. So it's double restoration, which means they heal faster, which is great. And we have an enhanced Circle of Life. And I believe this is a new perk that comes with the final shape because we have a healing weapon. So rapidly healing allies grants this weapon an improved period of increased damage. So having that as well as its intrinsic trait means you get double the damage that comes out of it. It's a fantastic weapon. It's really, really good, and also has Dealer's Choice. Final blows as weapon grant a small amount of super energy. Equipping multiple weapons from the Pale Heart increases this effect. So I run 3 Pale Heart weapons. I run a The Call and I run a Pro Memoria. I haven't got a craft for my Call yet. I'm quite happy with what it currently has as a drop. It's a masterwork of the Blast Radius, which is great for those red bar enemies that cluster, like the Hive or Shanks and all that. It's fantastic. With Beacon rounds, so final blows this weapon grant your projectiles tracking, and Vorpal, so it's good against those tricky yellow bars like the Wizards and the Knights and whatnot, that kind of, and some small bosses as well. We also have a counterbalance stock on this because without it, it has a 75 recoil direction. It's not impossible to handle, but it's also, it's quite nice to get that down to a 90. You can use a full auto retrofit as well if you don't particularly like clicking or using trigger button, whatever it may be. You can increase the magazine or whatnot, but I feel like 13 rounds for the amount of damage this puts out with Dealer's Choice, with Vorpal weapon, with the Beacon rounds, with a Blast Radius, and rocket assisted frame. I think it works fantastically. It's incredible. And then we also run a crafted Pro Memoria. The craftedness on this is just ricochet rounds, reconstruction. So when I mainly use this for boss DPS, I know I'm going to get slaughtered for using a machine gun for boss DPS, but it slowly reloads itself over time up to double the capacity. And if you look down here, with an increased magazine, it usually has 65, so you're going to get 130 rounds. However, with an increased magazine, it's 82, which is doubled to 164 rounds in your machine gun with that reconstruction. Also, target lock, damage increases the longer this weapon remains on target. So it melts when it starts hitting the bosses. It's consistent 164 rounds of damage that builds up in the amount of damage over time. And once again, with Dealer's Choice. So 3 of these Dealer's Choice weapons, improving the speed in which I get my super back. And we'll go over the subclass. We'll go over it now, actually. I was going to say last, but we'll go over it now. So this is my Prismatic Warlock build. It's a lot about keeping allies alive and keeping me alive and crowd control. So I've gone with the Song of Flame for Radiant and Scorch and Ignitions and mainly the passive of this. So while using Song of Flame, you and nearby allies regenerate abilities more quickly, which is good for your Titans and for your Hunters or your other Warlocks or whoever you're running with. It's really, really good to keep their abilities up, especially when we've got such broken builds with the Hunters and such broken builds with the Titans. We keep those abilities up, and it's, you know, we're causing mass hysteria. Create a sentient flame wisp that seeks out targets and detonates in scorching explosion. That deals a lot of damage, and also you've got a melee that launches additional projectiles. It's your click that's usually 4 or 3 that come off of it, but it's 5 now, so it's increased, which is great. And the Transcendence is just what it is. It's a freezing grenade, void energy and stasis. It's a fantastic grenade. I don't really pop my Transcendence that much, depending on kind of the cluster amount of allies, because unfortunately it does remove the grenade which I have, which is a healing grenade, which is just as a healer. It's just, that's the only, you can replace this if you want to. I use it because it is a healing grenade, and it's good to have. I've got 2 sets of healing coming in here with a Song of Phoenix Dive and a healing grenade, so we have 2 there. A burst glide, your movement's entirely up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. And I use an arcane needle for the unravel, and also purely because of the distance on this. And it gets into it a little bit more as well about why I want this on when it comes to our fragments. Our aspects is Hellion. This is a new one, which is when you activate your class ability, you summon a solar mortar that lobs flame and projectiles at distant targets. Targets are damaged by the mortar are scorched, which is good. They get scorch stacks, and if enough scorch stacks are applied, the target they ignite, which is great. More damage. And also when you pop your class ability with Weaver's Call, you deploy Threadling. So what we're doing here is when we drop that Phoenix Dive, is we're healing ourselves, our allies around us, we're giving ourselves a little fire turret, and we're also dropping Threadlings to just wipe out anything that's around us. It's good for being in a pinch, in a pickle, when you're surrounded by thralls or goblins or any of those rank and file red bar enemies. Move on to our fragments. The fragments took me a while and a bit of playing around. This is what I've ended up on and what I'm comfortable with. I'm sure I'll probably end up changing these, and you feel free to change them yourself, whatever your play style is. Which is the whole point of this build, really, is that this is a good build for me, for the play style I want to play, and for the play styles of my teammates, because I know how they play, I know how we work as a team, and I know how we can heal, how I can heal, and also give the best amount of effects. The fragments are Facet of Balance, so rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy, rapidly defeating targets with darkness grants grenade energy. So we're using we've got with the call, which is our strand weapon is darkness, will grant us more grenade energy, which is great. And also our needle is darkness energy as well, which grants us more grenade, which guess what, gives us more healing nades for those slight pinches. It's fantastic. We have a Facet of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or super final blows generate an elemental pickup of the matching damage type. We have the healing gun is a solar weapon. So we're getting fire spites, which grant grenade energy. So more healing, which is fantastic. So get their grenade energies up, give more healing. We have a Facet of Dawn. When you're radiant, your weapons are enhanced by the power of the Traveler and deal increased damage to combatants. So powered melee hits against targets makes you radiant. Powered melee final blows make you and nearby allies radiant. So you're also giving off this buff to everybody else. So your weapons are enhanced and are now dealing increased damage with our arcane needles, which have, I think, the most damage and with the most distance. They travel the furthest. And you get 3 of them as well on your arcane needles. The cooldown does suck. It's 2 minutes and 10, which is why I would personally, when we get to building our stats, when we get to it, you may want to kind of have an even balance between your grenade and your melee, kind of in the same sort of ballpark, as high as you could possibly get them. I will say that don't take what my stats are as gospel. Try and get them into the hundreds for your grenade and possibly melee, and also your resilience. Those are kind of the 3 main ones that I want. Super, as we've got from like abilities and stuff, climbs very, very quickly with dealer's choice. So don't worry too much about your intelligence. My main priority is resilience, followed by grenade energy, followed by melee energy. Those are the 3 that are my main focus currently. Anyway, we have Facet of Blessing. Melee final blows start health regeneration, while Transcendent melee final blows start health regeneration for you and nearby allies. So I don't really pop Transcendence, but popping it in a pinch, in a pickle, when it's being a swarm or whatever, then it's very, very good because you can hit those melee final blows and get your health regeneration for you and nearby allies. But also with the Arcane Needle, because of the amount of damage it deals against red bars, you can throw one out, pierce one, and then you've already started your health regeneration if you're in a little bit of a tight spot. This build is about keeping yourself alive so you can keep your allies alive. We now have Facet of Hope. While you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. So the buffs that we're getting from our Radiant, the buffs we're getting from our Fire Spite, is 2 buffs here that we're getting to help proc this more, which means we're getting our Phoenix Dive more often, which means we're spawning Threadlings more often, which means we're healing our allies and ourselves more often, and we're getting Mortars more often. It's great. Wonderful. It's fantastic. And then we have Facet of Protection. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage while Transcendent the effect is increased. I mainly chose this not only for the plus 10 in strength, but also because being surrounded by combatants tends to happen a lot. And, you know, we've got more resilience and allow ourselves to get our Phoenix Dives out and our abilities easier because things are around us so we can proc more things. This one kind of comes in and out depending on the build, probably will change over the course, and feel free to lose this for something else that may benefit you more, but it's what I tend to go with. So that's the class. That's the subclass sorted. Now, if we have a look over here, I haven't finished this completely because I still need to get a couple of things to upgrade the exotic Warlock bond. But if you're looking for the exotics that you would normally use, I ran this with a Necrotic Grip for the longest time before I got my Solipsism, purely because melee causes damage over time, which was good to get the poison, and then also dealing the damage would, when the rank and file or the enemies died, it would spread the condition for more poisoning. So it was more just about crowd control, really, which is great. And having 3 darts means you can throw 3 and keep that poison going, and it expands and expands and expands. For higher tier stuff, Necrotic Grips have always been a really, really good staple point for Warlocks. They're fantastic. I've got a very, very good roll on those. If I was to put like all of this on here, look, we've got 106 in our resilience and 106 in our discipline, which is great. I am running Solipsism, which I'll explain in a second as to why. We also have Speaker's Sight, so healing grenades spawn a restorative turret. Haven't used this, so I can't attest to if it's any good. The way we play is we play very, very quick. We play very sporadically, and we play moving a lot. The only time we ever really sort of stay still is to deal boss damage. Everything else is we're constantly on the move because we have a very high priority melee Titan and a very dodging Hunter. So we're all over the place all of the time. We're constantly moving, constantly weaving. So this restorative turret, to me, in my playstyle, would be a waste of a healing grenade because it would be thrown to a location and you'd have to keep going back to that location if it wasn't working. Or you could run this and drop it when it comes to doing DPS. It's entirely up to you. But for me, it's kind of not perfect for my playstyle and my build, which is what this whole thing is about. So with Solipsism, what we got on the drop from the first run, now you get this Warlock bond from doing the Dual Destiny exotic quest. Once that's completed, these will also drop from chests in the Pale Heart, doing your, I want to call them Overthrow, but I'm not entirely sure. It is Overthrow, I think. Whatever those chests are that you do in the Pale Heart, it's those. So what we got from this, I need to get this up, but I have no enhancement prisons because I'm poor. But we got, on the first drop, a Spirit of Osmiomancy, this randomly roll perk, so your grenades recharge quicker on hits, which is great, and grenades recharge from empowered weapon damage. Now, this is the main part that we got from this perk. I would have liked to have got the Necrotic perk, however, this Spirit of Starfire is fantastic because of fire sprites that we're dropping, and because of being Radiant, and because our weapons become empowered very, very easily. When we rapid heal, our weapon becomes empowered. So our grenades pop very, very, very frequently. Also with a Bomber, I would also put Reaper on this, just to get an Orb of Power. And I believe I also have Powerful Attraction on it as well. So when we do drop our Phoenix Dive, those orbs that we're creating come to us very, very quickly, and we keep that Orb of Power up. As for the mods we've got on this so far, with our helmet, we have +10 to discipline. This is all of these are just based on the rolls that I've got. You won't have to put these exactly, but they are just what they are. I have a special ammo finder, so I've constantly got ammo in that really hard hitting the call. I have powerful friends, which causes, again, buffing my allies to get their armor charges, because their builds benefit from armor charges. And harmonic siphon, rapid solar weapon, final blows, create an orb of power. The main gun that we're using is solar. It's fantastic. Impact induction, causing damage with a powered melee attack, reduces your grenade cooldown. We have 3 needles. Granted, they're on a long cooldown for the melee, but we have 3 needles, which if we're in such a tight pinch, not only will that help our restorative, it will also give us grenade energy. It's great. Grants class ability when you cause damage with a powered melee attack, so we're also getting grenade energy, as well as getting our Phoenix dive back, keeping those heals up and constant as frequently as possible. Your armor resistant mods. I did choose, I believe, something different sometimes. These, because we've just done a dungeon actually quite recently. Reduce flinching, okay. It's kind of really what you would put around it, as it really sort of would be. But I mainly keep it just the resistances to try and keep me alive from that kind of damage. As for our pants, we have a innovation, so reduce grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power, more healing grenades. And I've got 2 stacks of that, and an absolution, reduces all ability cooldowns each time you pick up an orb of power. So we're creating orbs of power, picking it up, we're getting cooldowns as much as possible. Also, our teammates are making orbs of power as well for us to pick up, which is, hopefully they are anyway, which is great. So this is what I've got on my Corrupting Echo Bomb, which is what I was using before the exotic. Reaper, Powerful Attraction, Bomber, and then I also have an Intellect Forge because this is a Corrupting Echo. It's an Artifice Armor, which is very, very good, very, very helpful. But we've been running Solar Prism. You see from the weapons here, so we've got a Beacon Rounds, a Vorpal weapon, Dealer's Choice, Dealer's Choice, Dealer's Choice. It's great. It's really, really good. It's just a good collection of traits that are really helping us out. As for our artifact, the artifact this season has been a little bit weird. I'm not entirely sure what I want to be putting in this to make it as perfect as possible. So what we have got is an overcharged armory. So weapons with Dealer's Choice are always overcharged weapons for when that modifier is active. Winning Hand, having several equipped weapons with the Dealer's Choice origin trait increases the effect of the explosion. So precision final blows or rapidly defeating combats cause the target to explode, dealing solar energy to nearby combatants. So the effect of the explosion is bigger because we've got 3 Dealer's Choice weapons. Rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon or a weapon matching your equipped super, which is our solar weapon, create an elemental pickup that matches your equipped super. Elemental pickups starts a whole trickle effect of all the other buffs. Threaded Blast. Destroying a tangle with a strand weapon creates a larger, more damaging explosion. Our machine gun and our heavy is strand, as well as our sidearm for our primary, or secondary rather. I think it's a primary. Kinetic weapon. Top slot. Void Homogeny. While you have a Void or Prismatic subclass, equipped defeating weakened targets provide a small Void overshield. It's difficult because weakened targets are depending on who's running Void in your team, because we're not, but it's just there just in case to get yourself that overshield and keep you alive. While you have a solar or prismatic subclass equipped, picking up an orb of power makes you radiant, more buffs, more effects. Galvanic armor. While you have arc or prismatic equipped, incoming damage from combatants is reduced while amplified. Again, probably not good. We've got a prismatic subclass. We may get amplified from our allies. I don't know. These 3 are just to cover every possible base, just to give us increased damage, radiance, and an overshield. That's all they're there for. Prismatic transfer. When you cast your super, each member of your fire team with a super type different than yours gains a bonus to weapon damage. Again, we run we have a void prismatic warlock currently with the new axe throwing, and I believe we still run a solar hunter, which doesn't really match together with myself because I'm obviously running a prismatic solar warlock, but we are giving that bonus weapon damage to our titan, which is, great. And shield crush. While you have woven mail, frost armor, or overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. While you're amplified or radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. Your grenade doesn't really deal the great damage as a healing grenade, but it recharges faster, so that's all that's important. So as I said before, you kind of want to get your resilience over 100, it is just, you know, damage reduction by 30%. It's kind of just the staple point for a lot of builds. Just get that resilience over 100, keep yourself alive, keep yourself... You can get your recovery up as well, but you are getting a lot of healing from this. It's not that necessary. Then our next priority is discipline. I need to get some better rolls, obviously, but we have a 59-second cooldown, not to mention all of these and all of these perks as well to help with that. So once this is at over 100, we're looking at possibly a 40-second cooldown without buffs. Much, much faster, much, much better with everything else. And then a minute 33 on the Strand, which is great because what is originally 210 is now 1 minute 33 per. So that's 37 seconds of more time that you're going to get. Again, with all the perks happening as well, that's also going to be significantly lower. So priority resilience, then discipline, then strength. And the whole build is just put around this no hesitation. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's where I'm going to finish talking about everything now. I do understand that I waffle quite a bit. I hope the information you've taken in has been beneficial to you. If there's things you would change, please let me know in the comments and see how things are. Or if you've tried this build and it works for you and it doesn't work for you, that's great as well. Maybe, you know, give some suggestions, help out the community and whatnot. So thank you guys ever so much for coming along. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see this build actually in action, we have just done a Warlord's Ruin run, my first ever Warlord's Ruin run. And it was used a fair amount in that, as well as a duo mission for the dual exotic that we did also record to get the Solar Prism, as well as the exotic for the Titan mark, which again, it also came in clutch at some moments and very, very useful, and you can see how everything works and how it all affects that way. So thank you guys ever so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.